Hi, my name is Merrick from NVT Phybridge, and I am here to ask and answer one simple question. Can I use NTP to configure the time on my switch? And the answer is yes. NTP allows the FLEX24-10G and CLEER24-10G to synchronize its internal clock with an external/internal NTP server. It is often desirable to have every NTP-compatible device in a network to be synchronized to the same NTP server. With every device in the network having its clock synchronized with every other device, this greatly speeds up the troubleshooting process when timestamps from several devices must be examined together. The FLEX24-10G and CLEER24-10G can be configured as an NTP client and cannot act as a standalone server. Up to 5 NTP servers can be configured on the FLEX24-10G/CLEER24-10G at one time. Each configured NTP server is differentiated by its own index number. Firstly, we will show the GUI way of doing things, and then the command line. The command line section will go into more detail. Go to the admin page and enable NTP. Then add the NTP server and press apply. If you are using a host name for your NTP server, be aware that if the 10G does not have a DNS server to communicate with, it won't be able to resolve the host name to the IP address. We will then change the time zone to UTC -5 under the Setup tab. And that's it. Now for the command line section, which will go into detail about the parameters being used as well. Configure terminal, NTP, this will enable NTP, NTP server, IP address, then you can use the IPv4 address, IPv6 address, or the domain name. Configuring the switch to use an external or internal NTP server, you must use a value between 1 to 5 inclusive. The server can be added in the form of an IPv4 address, IPv6 address, or a host name. Note, if the consecutive commands are entered with identical index numbers, only the most recent command will remain in the running config. For our example, we will use NTP server 1, IP address 51.222.12.71. To overwrite the startup config with the current entries of the running config, write the commands and copy running config, startup config. Now, since we changed the UTC time zone in the GUI, we will do the same in the command line. Configure terminal, clock, time zone, a brief description of the time zone, hours offset from UTC, and then an optional minutes offset from the UTC. Although this command is optional, it is recommended to configure the time zone first. If the switch resides in a locale with UTC +0, this time zone does not need to be configured. Name of time zone can be any 16-character string, but should match the name of the time zone. Hours offset from UTC must be a value from -23 to 23. Minutes offset from UTC must be a value of 0 to 59. By default, the switch time zone is set to UTC +0. Note, if the time is set before the time zone, the time will have to be reset as the time zone value will alter the system time. For our example, we will use the command clock time zone Eastern, -5. Thank you for watching the NVT Phybridge NTP instructional video. For other examples, such as changing the clock, configuring daylight savings times, and all other time or NTP questions, all documentation is in the administrative guides for our managed switches and can be found on our website at nvtphybridge.com. Have a wonderful day.